So you read the title, you know what's going on. We're going to go through every track on Chase Made Sarah and Sarah Killed Chase, and I'm just going to talk about them a little bit, and yeah, let's get into it. So let's start off with Stabbed and Kissed. So basically, I just thought, so I've been working on this like Sarah Queen Chaos thing for basically my entire life. The more I dig down into it, the more I realize that's true. And I was thinking about this character, and one of the ways that would be good to describe them, the easiest way to describe, a good way to describe them, is that they're likely to, you know, stab you and then just kiss you on the way down. The two polar opposites. And I thought Stabbed and Kissed is just such a provocative title. It needs to exist in some way. It's just such an interesting idea of just like someone who can hate you so much and love you so much at the same time. And I'm like, oh, that's cool stuff. I like it. So that's where the title came from. I was like, Stabbed and Kissed has to exist in my discography somewhere. Right? Here it comes.
Oh gosh, Stabbed and Kissed.
Perfect. There it is. Let's just loop it one more time and see if I've got anything else I want to say. And yeah, the rest of these are just, you know, bits and pieces of lyrics I'd written down or thoughts I'd had that I just felt like putting in this album and putting together. I think they were together in one audio file before they were part of an album. Just, you know, a lot of random thoughts that I thought were relevant to the album and relevant to me, and things were going on. And yeah, just a little bit of spoken word poetry for you to start things off, you know. Creepy La La. This, I've got the files loaded into my DAW, and it says that the file name is version 6. That's a lie. This is version like 152. This is like a 2018 track, I think, and it just kept getting pushed along. It never was ready for release, and then I finally thought, I'm you know, because I'm doing this weird experimental album, this is the perfect time to put Creepy Lala on there, because I love it as a song, but it just never fully properly came together. And but I love it. So I love it so much, and it's so creepy and weird and funky, and had to release it. This was the only way it was happening. So this is a bit of an edited version of it, but you get, you know, the gist of it, and there's the funky vibes, and it's cool and it's weird, and it's, you know, the lyrics are just creepy and la la. It's cool. Creepy La La. So this is old. I think this is 2019. So not the oldest, but old. This, I joined a community of, you know, music creatives, and one of the collaborations that we did, that I got from that, birthed the bass track for this song, which is done by Nicholas Sibley. He did the bass for this, and I just sat on this track for ages because I wasn't really sure. Like some tracks I'm not sure. But then, you know, the album came up and I thought it was perfect timing. I was so close. This felt a lot similar to the journey of Fade Away, right? I sat on that track for ages, just like not knowing if it was something that was good enough to go out. I eventually released Fade Away, and Life Science just got left behind. It just never came out. But it's been sitting like fully produced and, you know, a master of sorts for just ages. And I thought, no, it's so close to going out by itself. It's definitely going out in SKC. Or, you know, what's the acronym for the other one? Chase Made Sarah, CMS. Yeah. So yeah, just fully produced. Basically it's still at this point, it feels like two songs like put together, kind of like swapped halfway through. But it's cool. And it's weird and funky, and yeah, Life Signs. So this is just a collection of riffs that I was just playing around with. Some of them turned into things, some of them didn't. I just chucked in the left speaker just the nonsense humming around that I was doing along to one of the riffs because it just worked. I wasn't following any of my rules when I made this album. This was all just putting together everything that, you know, that got left behind, that I just could not quit. You know what I mean? I couldn't give up on it. It had to go out somewhere. So here it is. So yeah, it's just a bunch of stuff. Garage City, as in just get in the garage and you just bash out some chords, and these are the ones that stuck around. I don't know, it's cool. It's got a vibe to it. Rose is so... First of all, this is an edited version because so much of it just didn't work, or it wasn't good enough to go out, bits and parts of the songs. This is an edited version, but I wanted to get... A lot of these songs are edited versions, but I wanted to get some version of it out. I didn't want it to be you know, lost to the sands of time forever, but it couldn't go out the way it was, and I wasn't willing to record them. So these are all, you know, bits and pieces, which is why they sound a bit lo-fi, because the idea is they're, you know, pulled from the depths of my demo tapes. You know, these are long lost recordings type of thing, some of these, but yeah, I was just catching demo-itis, but demo-itis is kind of like got a negative connotation to it, whereas I don't see this stuff as like negative. I see it as positive. Like, this version of the song, whatever you want to call it, it made me feel, and I wanted to release it so other people could feel the way it makes me feel, hopefully, you know what I mean? Just to give these songs the release that they deserve. They deserve something, but they're not going to go into full production because this is the version, as weird as it is, you know what I mean? So yeah, Rose, this is super old. This is like 2017 or something, you know. I was a teenager when I made this, definitely. Oh my God, sounds artificial. Oh, it's the greatest thing ever made. So this is 2017. This is like 2017 was like, I left high school, I didn't have a job, I was just like, and I got this music gear and I was just working on it all the time, just so engaged, just like, I want to work out how to do this, I want to do the things that my idols have done. Can it be done? Is it possible? So this is like, let's just make a Daft Punk EDM song. And I always thought it was interesting that like Daft Punk can get away with their incredible songs. They can get away with like extended bars of really not much happening, but you're just so here for it. And I tried to do that, and yeah, it's harder than it looks. What a surprise! But yeah, it's fun. I love Sounds Artificial because it's so weird, but it's so raw, and it's so like, there's so many of these tracks on these two albums are just unashamedly just honest. They're unashamedly just me, you know what I mean? Just me, just having fun, just working it out, and like, gotta share that. I'm so glad that it's out, and it's so bizarre, and someone's gonna play me Sounds Artificial in 3 years because it's gonna be released and be like, oh, that's right, it's out there in the world, it's not just hidden for me only. It's good. So it's a vocoder sent through a guitar amp, because why not, right? So it's just super dumb sounding, but it's also awesome. And yeah, this is going to be amazing. So good. It's like, oh, I need to put a sample there, but I don't want to like go through the legalities of that, so I'll just make my own sample. This is going to be amazing. Like, this is so fun. You know what I mean? It's so fun. I love this track. I've never done anything like it since, and probably never will again, but it's so fun. It's so funky, man. It's fun. Habit. Okay, so Habit is a jeweled reject. At the time, I was just like, I don't know about this, because it's so like sparse and just honest, and I don't know, I felt too insecure at the time, I think, to release it, but now I'm just like, listening to it now, looking for and I have to, I don't know what the lyrics are yet, but I was just like, oh, this is cool. This is like, listening to it now, I actually just played the file because I don't have the session anymore. I don't think of this either. I was just like, oh, this is cool. It needs a master, but it's cool. You know, it's so 2017. You know what I mean? It's so like, there's this like confidence born of like naivete of like what was coming, but there's also, it's like an infectious confidence where you're like, I'm here for it. It's such a sparse arrangement. There's just nothing going on, and it's long, and you're just sitting here and you're just like, I'm just gonna have to sit with this and just really just sit down and experience it and put everything aside and just let it wash over you. It's like, if you're in the mood for that, this is the song for it, you know? It's cool. So yeah, just put it out, you know what I mean? This whole process has made me realize it's not about, for me personally, I just want to get everything out. I love this transition. I do have a habit of making things hard. I can't help thinking. Like, it's cool. Like, I know it's weird, but it's cool. So yeah, it's just, for me, I just want to release everything that I think is cool. I don't want to like get in the way. I want to show the journey, everything I come up with. Like, if I think it's good, if it won't go away, then share it. You know what I mean? It's okay. We'll be okay. Don't have to hold it all back. Just, it's there. It doesn't hurt anybody. And then somebody can hear it and be like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, it's cool. It's fun. So this is labeled in my hard drive as Killers / Weezer song. Like, that's what I was, and I think it turned into its own thing. You know, that's what I started with, and it's its own thing now. But that's what it was originally. So I don't have access to this session anymore, so there is a lot of like gang vocals, and that's because I'm trying to cover up the original vocal that's printed into the track that I can't remove. So I used gang vocals. Know that you're alive in there. Because I'm a little bit better now singing, but the old version was just no good, so I needed to, you know, sing over it, and this gang vocals kind of hide it, because I really loved this session, and I was never going to do this, like, it would lose all the magic if I did a new version of this, so I was like, fine, we'll call it a demo, we'll do gang vocals over the top of it, we'll lo-fi it down, so everybody's like, it's got that kind of like long lost cassette tape feeling, and we'll just put it out, and everything will be fine. And somebody's going to be like, this is my favorite thing you've ever done. I'm like, awesome, sweet, I'll do a live version where I sing better. It's great, but it's just so... It's great. Straight into verse 2, rusty coins in the tray, life in disarray. That's great. You got the synths, you know, the synths just make it. I don't think I have access to any of these synths anymore. I don't know what the settings are. The session's gone. Like, it's a moment in time and it's gone forever now. So I just wanted to honor it in any way I could. And if I'd started again and you didn't hear this version, you'd never know the magic of it, and it would be a completely new song. So I thought, let's do what we can with the skills and technology we have, and just put out some version of this, because I was waiting to write to you at the right time. I know that I heard there was news about that tearful night. Will you write to me and tell me the things are still alright? It's sick, man. It's cool. That you'd slip back and you lost her late last night. It's a complete song, man. Like, not everything on this album is. Some things had to get chopped up, but this is just all, it had to be a complete song. Love the synths, it's so cool. This is all that Rhodes sample at the start. It's so... I was like, I made an entire song around that sample, basically. That's where it all started. Then I was like, what can I put to make a song out of this? And this was longer originally as well, but I had to edit it because I wanted to capture the magic of this recording, but not all of it was worth showing. So here's a little snippet. This is the louder than one. I'm trying to give you a version of it that, you know, is cool. And this is a mouth solo. This is a sung solo. I just sung into a guitar amp, because this is what I want the solo to be, and I'm like, you know what, that's cool. It's cool, it's musical, I'm alright with it. Moving on. Right, this album is just, I'm just gonna go for it. You know what I mean? I'm just gonna go for it. So that's Louder Than One. As soon as A More Honest Girl starts, it just drenches you in atmosphere and vibe, and you're like, oh shit. This is the only dark song on the first album, I believe. I was just the only one where I was like, well, the next album, SKC, Sarah Killed Chase, is gonna be darker. So this is kind of like the precursor to that. I still don't know at the time of recording this when I'm going to record, when I'm going to release the two of them. I don't know if they're going to be really like close together. So maybe this last is like a bit more of a solemn track to let you know what's coming for the next one. Yeah, it's just a bunch of lyrics that I don't even know where this was such a... when I put all this together and recorded the vocals and wrote the lyrics, it was all just a burst of emotion at that time, and it's just, some of it makes sense to me now, some of it doesn't. Like, if I drank, this would be a perfect time to say I was drunk, but it wasn't. It was just a state that I was in that was like super, I don't know, felt like altered and very out of this world, completely sober, I'm just a weird dude. And I was just like, let's do this. And it's cool. And it means something to me that I don't quite understand, but I was like, it has to be on the album. And what a way to end it. You get to the end of this album and you're like, oh, this got serious all of a sudden. So it's cool. It's just the same thing over and over and over again. But you try and tell, you know, Radiohead that that's a bad thing, repeating things. It's, no. Or Daft Punk. Like, you know, there's a bit of that left turn influence kind of coming in with this album. So A More Honest Girl, here we are. This is, I think, forgive me, I think is the track I'm most proud of both albums. The inspiration from it came from the song, you know, that 70s theme song they would play at the end of each Mindhunter episode in the credits, the credits song, you know, they would play something, you know, like Talking Heads, that famous Talking Heads song, which I can't think of because I'm hearing my song and I can't think of other songs. You know, they play classic, you know, things that were like of the time that were like perfect, like themes for the whole serial killer hunting type of thing. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. So I wanted to do the same sort of thing and do a studio kind of tribute to that era of, you know, 70s rock. So it was wanted to be like super dry, super like stripped back and just like, it's just classic 70s rock. And obviously every time I try to do something, it ends up being something completely different for, you know, my own limitations, my own understanding of the subject, whatever it is, you know, whenever you try to do something, you always end up with something different. I think that's how most good art gets made. So it sounds, you know, kind of, you can kind of hear it a little bit, but it's kind of like looking at someone with, you know, maybe your glasses off or something, you know, out of focus. You're like, I can see it sort of, but I kind of have to squint because it became its own thing, and that's cool. But it sat on the computer for ages. Still had access to this session, so I had the chance to track vocals for it recently, and I don't know, I was just feeling it, and the vocals came together really quickly. I think it's basically like one main take for most of it, and then because I start really going for it at the end, I just ran out of steam and had to do a couple pickups. My voice just like gave out, but it's basically all just like one go, and it was really, it just came together really cool. I just got out of its way, you know what I mean? I got out of its way. There's more I could do production wise and, you know, like tighten up tones or guitars or whatever, but I was just like, nah, let's just leave it. It makes me feel like I want it to make me feel, and I'm just gonna get out of the way. And that was the point, basically. Everything in this album was just get out of the way and just celebrate the versions that made you feel. The versions of the song that made you feel. Yeah, forgive me. See, this is a perfect example of the meta experience of Run for Cover, is that I've tried to explain Run for Cover like multiple times and I just can't get it to work. That's basically, this session is like cursed because for some reason the song's cool and it's got a cool groove, like nodding my head as I listen along, but the chorus, you know, had some problems. I couldn't quite get the right chords. I couldn't, you know, and vocals all the way through. I could never get a take of vocals I was happy with. The song just, it on paper, it should have just worked. It should just make sense. It's a very like pretty expected thing from Chase Mantel, but it just never came together. So finally, I just thought, you know, well, I'm going to put Run for Cover in the folder, in the SKC folder. I'm going to put it together with all these other songs, and these songs were all just like celebrate that version basically. So I thought, okay, well, I'm just gonna go in with no polish and no reservations, and I'm just gonna do it. And through my anger of not being able to get the vocals together, I produced this like throat shredding vocal performance. And I thought, well, I've absolutely destroyed my throat for today, so I guess I should honor that by using this take. But it was just, the anger of not being able to get the damn take right, not being able to get the intensity right, or, you know, get that vocal take that makes the song make sense. Not being able to get that was enough for me to be like, all right, let's just get angry and just go for it. And it's an angry song, so it worked out. But yeah, just a problem child the whole time. And this is an edited version because, there was just bits that I just, even though I had access to the session, I just couldn't make them work. So I thought, no, we'll just do this. There's a good chunk of it still that survived. But yeah, Run for Cover was just a pain to make. It was just a pain. And there was no reason for it to be such a pain. Okay, Imposter's old. This is like maybe like 2019 or 2018. It might be 2018. It's pretty old, yeah. It's like Fade Away, but like before Fade Away, I think. Or maybe at the same time. I was just in a very like raunchy, provocative zone when I made these songs. So it's like more political commentary on, you know, sexism and shit men and, you know, all that. And I was just like, oh, let's make a rocky kind of, or almost like a Rage Against the Machine type of, you know, verse riff. Just keep that groove going, and then just let this random guy just do a bit of, let me do a little bit of rapping, you know. Why not? Let's do a bit of rapping, you know. It's why not? I know. Yeah. Why not? So yeah, this is just good old fun. This got edited as well because it was just not, it's not coming together. I just gave you the best bits, you know. I wanted the song to be honored by having a release, but not all of it was, really coming together. So this is what survived, and still some fun to be had. The whole album is just a lot of songs that have just like been really cut up, cobbled together. It's very much like walking through an old dusty museum exhibit that's been shut down, and it's fallen into a state of disrepair. But there's still history here. There's still some stuff to behold. Although the sign says "Do not enter. These buildings are condemned." You walk in and you're like, oh, this is a very interesting experience I'm having, looking through all these old dusty songs that they got some character to them. They've got some excitement still to be had. So yeah, Imposter. Wow, Generations is heavy. Generations is, I don't know. I'm just gonna, whatever you think of it being, I'm not gonna rob you of your own interpretation of it and tell you what it means to me. But it's a heavier one, and it's just vocals and guitar. It's always only just been acoustic guitar and vocals. And it's long, and it doesn't respect your time at all. But it's just a mood. It's just got that vibe. This was the only thing on the two albums that I re-recorded. This is like completely new. The original version, everything's new. Both of those tracks are new. And it's better. It's a bit, it's all one take as well, which, it doesn't happen very often with me, because doing everything with studio, I mean, why would you? You can always just retake, touch some things up. But this is, I'm pretty sure this is all one take. I think it's one mic as well. Just make sure you put that mic in the right spot, and then just let the compressor do the work, and let your performance and your dynamics when you're actually performing it, let that do the work as well. And yeah, it's just a sad little story. Generations. What could I possibly even say about I Swear? What could I don't know what this, it's you know what I'd say? I'd say go listen to Megalomania from Muse, and then come back to this and be like, I see what he was doing. I see what he was trying to do. All the best stuff. Like, the stuff on this album it's so easy for me to point to some of it and say, oh, that's the influence that I made this song because of. The influences are just there. A lot of this stuff is so early on in my time making music that I was just so, it was so easy for me to just pick. It was so exciting at the time that I had access to all this equipment, that I could actually do this stuff, that I was like, I just want to do all the things that my idols have done and just do my own version of it. So this plodding piano part's very Megalomania from Muse. And then the lyrics, the actual, the English speaking lyrics, not just the, not the humming and the mumbling and whatnot, but the speaking lyrics, they're actually really new. They're taken from a couple, I think, I've got a heaps of notes in my phone up from like therapy sessions and from my own, epiphanies that I've had about life and things. And I think this was just me reading one of them verbatim off of my phone. And it just felt profound at the time. It felt relevant at the time. It felt like when I listened to this song, that those are the lyrics that I wanted to say. Because I felt like the track, when I listened to it, the instrumental's old, but the vocals are really new. But I felt like the instrumental needed something. So I put some extra vocal tracks in there, and some rambling, mumbling lyrics. Very kind of art house, experimental, just what is going on. Can't just like chuck it on, into your road trip playlist. Like, it kind of requires you to sit down and process it. A lot like a lot of Muse songs from, that 2000s era. So yeah, it's kind of, it's a bit off left field, which it's the left field track from an entire two albums full of left field tracks. So that says a lot. Yeah, so the long lost cassette tape recording of There's a Man. This was just, a 10-second clip of a song that I made that I really liked, and I just couldn't shake it. I just got proper demo-itis for the way this quick track made me feel. And I couldn't leave it off the album. It's a little experience for you. This is The Sky. This is the, if you hear at the very end of the track, it's the origin of the threshold noise that you hear in the Threshold track, which is the opening track to Singularity, which I've already put out. It's a previous heavy metal release. So that's that sound clip in Threshold that makes up the Threshold track. You can hear that at the end of The Sky. That's kind of cool. The whole thing didn't work on the Singularity. I just took that little end bit, but the whole thing does work here because it's just a very weird experimental, someone sat down in their, DAW session and just created something super weird on a drizzly Sunday or whatever it was. Like, it's such a weird experiment. And these two albums, they're just a collection of experiments that were too weird for a mainstream release. And then I thought, you know what? Strength in numbers. If we all go out, the tracks basically talk to each other, and they were like, if we all go out the gate together, they can't stop us all, type of thing. And that's basically where we're at. Where I'm just like, I couldn't release any of these tracks as singles, but I could release them together as an album. Put all of my weirdest, wildest things into just one place, into one album. So if you're into that, you can get more of it. It's all there, in that album. But if you just wanted to skip it completely, if it wasn't for you, then you can just completely skip it. It hasn't infected into the other tracks or whatnot. It's just a little detour of excitement for me to just release these super weird songs that don't really work. And I thought, I didn't want to put them on, a separate release, a separate account or anything. I wanted these to go out on the main thing. I'm a big fan of consolidation. I didn't want these things to be, split up into all these different main accounts and sub accounts and that. I'm like, nah, just put it all in one release so it can be cordoned off from the rest of it, but still exist because it's still a part of me as a musician. All this stuff it's weird and wacky, but it's still a part of my identity as a muso. So I wanted it to exist. I wanted these guys to have their chance to be out in the world, but I understand that they're a bit weird, so I thought I'd have them all cordoned off together. The Super Void interlude. This is a piece of music that is deep in the Super Void album that I released, 2020, I think it was. It's just one of my favorite pieces of music that I've ever made, and I basically retooled it with a new set of sounds, and wanted to play it uninterrupted, in its entirety, as a little transition into what was coming next, which is also a throwback. So anybody who knows the work I did before, my solo work, knows that this is a modified version of the Sanctum riff from Potency, from the metal band Potency that I was in before I started my solo stuff. We did one EP, and this was the song that's the only song on the EP that was classified as a demo. We never quite finished it, and the band never really did anything after that, so we never got a chance to finish it. So this is my version of the song. This is my version of Sanctum finished. I thought, every time I listened to the original version, I thought it'd be cool to do a breakdown version of that riff, and this is basically my version of that. Just a little fun thing. I thought, we did the Super Void interlude before that. We've got Sanctum here. This is a little bit of a mini retrospective of what's happened in the past, and I think all of this album is kind of a retrospective of everything that's come before. It's a collection of all the little side experiments and projects and forgotten tracks that didn't they kind of got left by the wayside, and this is my chance to put them out. I think as I'm saying this, I'm realizing I'm working out what all of these two albums are for as I'm saying it. I knew it was important, but I couldn't work out why. And I think going through these songs like this has been good, because it's just kind of cementing to me that, yeah, this stuff is important to me in its own little weird way. Thief. So this is another Duelled outtake, a reject from Duelled, because this is only, a 60-second clip or whatever, but the whole song wasn't really that good. But I love this jam between the, distorted, messed up bass and the drums. I just love this. This was called D and B on my computer for ages. Not drum and bass, but drums and bass, drums and bass guitar. And I just love the jamness of this, jamminess, which is an official term I'm coining right now, of the drums and bass working together. And I thought, this needs to go out. This is the best part. I know this is an edited version. You're like, where's the rest of it? No, you've heard the best part, right? This is the best version of Thief. And I wanted you to hear just the best bit. Those foreboding pianos can mean only one thing. We are on to the final track. We made it. This is a Conquest experiment. This is proper old as well. This is 2017. I was 18 years old when I made this. It's one of the first things I ever did. It's maybe third or fourth track I ever released, ever rendered, finished. but never released. Wasn't feeling it at the time, but now I appreciate that it's just got so much power and mood to it. And since I was doing this, random side projects, experimental, album, I thought this has to go on it. This is another example of me trying to do dramatic muse stuff. This is more just kind of like the Absolution type of thing, but it's nowhere in the real realm of it at the end of it. It's just, that's where it started. And I love this as another example of me just trying to make something epic when I'd only been doing it for, I'd only been making music for like 6 months or whatever, and it's just so new. So these are like my initial ideas of how to do it. I remember thinking I wanted to make this piano part more epic than the piano part before it. So I thought maybe I should just add another piano. So I created a new track and put a new piano in there and copied the MIDI so that the two pianos would be playing the same thing and it'd sound even bigger. I'm like, surely that's how you do it, right? And I'm like, no, that's not how you do it. But there's a charm to this recording where it's like, you can hear that this guy is just having fun and he's totally new to it, and you get some charmingness from it. It's fun to hear someone just having fun and doing something that's just making all of their neurons fire at the same time. You know what I mean? Like it's so wild. So yeah, I had a lot of fun making this. I had a lot of fun going through all of these tracks, and yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the commentary. But yeah, the Conquest Experiment.